Good morning, good evening, good afternoon, wherever you're watching this in whatever time zone. We have an exciting webinar for you today called the Future of Market Research, Exploring Generative AI Capabilities. And we'll also be talking about other AI capabilities as well outside of generative AI, but we're excited you're here. And I think we have a full hour, so let's get to it. And I want to introduce, obviously, myself. I'm Dan Fleetwood, President of Research and Insights here at QuestionPro. And Samir, I'll let you introduce yourself.
Sure. Hi, guys. Good to meet everybody and good to be here. I lead AI programs and partnerships at QuestionPro.
Awesome. So we have an exciting webinar for you today. Here's a little bit of the agenda. So we're going to talk about the QuestionPro platform, give an overview of that for those that might not be familiar. And then we are going to be talking about some of the research suite capabilities, give an overview there, and then how this AI comes into QuestionPro's overall vision and what that's like. We'll talk about traditional research versus research with AI and how that speeds up timelines and so forth. Talk about AI for next gen research and AI at QuestionPro and the difference there. I want to encourage you to ask questions. There will be time at the end for Q&A. So in whatever platform you're viewing this on, put your questions there. I know some of you submitted questions beforehand. I have those. So we have 10 questions already submitted, so that might be enough. But if you have questions as we're going through, feel free to put those in the comments or the chat on whatever platform you're viewing this on. All right, without further ado, let's get to it. So for those who aren't familiar with QuestionPro, we are a premier partner for research, experience, and insights. We were founded in 2005 in Seattle. We have 5.3 million users worldwide. And one thing that I find really interesting is 10 plus billion questions have been answered on QuestionPro throughout that time. We're a global company. We have offices all over the globe, sales offices, and then also other offices to help support development and so forth. And we're trusted by some of the world's leading brands. The QuestionPro platform can...
Let me just quickly add also the fact that we also have, which is very unique to a company like such as QuestionPro, is that we have data centers in so many countries around the world. Like there are at least 7 to 8 countries where we have data centers, and we are adding those every year, new countries.
That's a great point. Yep, great point. So data centers to go along with the globalization of QuestionPro as well. And we have QuestionPro platform consists of survey software, which is easy to use, designed for accessible by everybody, DIY essentially. And we also have a research suite as well, which is designed for market research professionals and also insights professionals as well. That covers the whole gamut of things. I'll talk a little bit more about that on the next slide here. And we also have a CX platform, so fully baked CX management software that can handle even the most robust CX platforms and systems. And we also have Workforce as well, which deals with employee engagement, 360 surveys, culture assessments, and all of the like. So we really end-to-end from experience to customers to research as well. That's the QuestionPro platform. Diving a little bit deeper into the research suite capabilities, we have the Research Edition, which is our powerful survey software that includes point-and-click logic, 55 plus question types, the ability to do conjoint, max diff, Grabber Granger, and advanced analytics as well. And a lot of what we'll be showing today is actually in the research suite and how we're integrating AI into QuestionPro. We also have a communities platform that is for longer-term communities, but you can get hyper-engaged communities and do research with them both on the quantitative and qualitative side. We also have QuestionPro QualSite if you want to dive in a little bit deeper and do a 2 to 3 day asynchronous type study. We can do those as well, end-to-end, fully moderated and up to reporting. We also have an Insights Hub, which is a data repository knowledge management system that also is getting AI incorporated into it so that you can uncover insights from studies that you've done 2 years ago, last week. All of those run within Insights Hub. We also have a services division that can handle things like programming all the way up to reporting. And then we have Audience, which you can choose from 22 million plus mobile ready respondents. And we have a wide variety of criteria and profiles that we can target for our clients. So that's the research suite in a nutshell. What I want to dive into now is how we're thinking about generative AI in market research and some of the different things that we're doing. After this, Samir will come on and talk about some of the differences and things that we're doing to help set the stage in this generative AI process. So really what we think, generative AI or artificial intelligence, obviously, more of helping market research to getting agile and surface insights faster by reducing the mundane tasks. And Samir will cover this in a minute around just how much time really the savings can be by leveraging a lot of these AI capabilities. And now, done at scale. So everything from smart survey development, from data to coding open ends to making repositories smarter, all can be done with generative AI. And Samir, I'll let you take it away.
Great. So this is really our method to madness concept, right? So with all the things that are happening around us in terms of when you talk about AI, there is, everybody says, oh, there is just, this and that. There is a ton of things that can happen. And, what is it that, where we're really going with this? So this is really, for QuestionPro's perspective, this is our vision, right? We believe that we can enable, through the use of generative AI and UI, we can enable faster, smarter research. And there are two key facets to it. First being efficiency. There's a lot of stuff that market research practitioners, whether they are in the agencies, whether they are at the at our client sites, that they undertake, where we can transform the way and the places where they're spending time and make them do things faster, so that they can eventually get to what's most important, which is looking at insights. The second aspect is, can we look at AI to create better, faster, newer, unlocking new types of insights that would not be possible if done in a traditional way? And with that, I think what we do is that we have a view on looking at what's next, what's ahead, what's around the curve, because in order for us to be able to do that well and be prepared for our clients, we need to be able to look ahead and be future ready. Moving on, if I really kind of talk about what do we mean by efficiency. So if you could imagine, let's say there are four, if I could break down research into four buckets or four bubbles, this coming from my 17 years with Nielsen as well. So I know that this is something that that most market researchers face or deal with. So if I were to say, okay, survey preparation, survey execution, survey cleaning data, harmonizing, tabulation, and all of that, and then the insights generation and really looking at action planning. If I were to give a weight of time to each of these bubbles, I bet the three earlier bubbles, the first bubbles of preparation and execution and cleaning data and all of that, will be the bigger bubbles versus the time that is spent on analyzing the information, which is the key, which is where the focus ought to be more. So what we are basically doing is we can say, hey, listen, how can we deflate those bubbles significantly so that the bubble of insight generation, action planning, building transformation roadmaps really becomes huge and in terms of time commitment and time rate, because that's really where magic happens. That's where the clients can see ROI, right, of their research spend. So imagine taking away all weeks and months of work and converting that into minutes, turning them into minutes, right? So we did some analysis of, as you can see here, we can say on an average, what could take 4 to 24 weeks could actually be done in 30, to 40 minutes, if you break down those tasks. And, the key benefit here is not just efficiency and productivity, but it's also, worker satisfaction, worker engagement. The resources that you are deploying, the researchers want to be able to spend more time actually doing insights creation and building transformation roadmaps. So not only this is a way to improve efficiency, do faster research, get to action faster, get impact faster to your customers, but also for your workforce, your research workforce, your insight workforce, to keep them motivated, to keep them committed towards what they're doing. If you look at what are the next trends or next gen trends that we are looking at in terms of building insights or building our AI tools, we basically see some large trends that are going to transform market research in general in the days to come. I think we are already seeing that their listing posts are going up. We're going to see more and more clients, customers, agencies looking at increasing or expanding or broadening the way they can listen to customer feedback, listen to customer, understand customer behavior, observe behavior. Because guess what? I mean, there is a gap between what customers say and what customers do, right? So we want to work, we want to bring solutions that bridge that gap. We also see that AI is going to be served as a service moving forward, and we need to be prepared for that. Our customers keep talking about it, and that we need research done faster. We want to be able to action as the customer is potentially even in the middle of a transaction or an experience, so that we can actually make a better experience, result in a better experience in the moment. And so we need to be able to create ways in which we can enable that. There is a huge demand for responsible AI for sure, and we are ready for it. In fact, we are very well placed for it, I would say, just because we give it premium importance in the way we build our AI models. And the other thing that we are seeing is that organizations are becoming more and more human-centric. And again, we are prepared to respond to that challenge as well.
Awesome. So I want to talk about moving on to QuestionPro's footprint with generative AI or artificial intelligence, and a little bit of just AI in general. So when generative AI, first started really coming to a head earlier this year, QuestionPro is early to adopt our QXBot survey builder, and that's something that we released early on, and something that's working really well to help reduce some of those timelines that we had mentioned previously. Also, things like image generator, QXBot dashboards, the ability to create dashboards faster using AI, and also get those insights quicker. We talk a lot about speed to insights and what can we do to improve that. Well, I think a lot of these things using generative AI will help out with that. We also have a Discover platform that's with open-ended questions and analysis there. They'll be talking about also how we're using it to help out with data quality. I think before we were talking about generative AI, data quality definitely dominated the conversations, and it's still there. And I think we can use a lot of the generative AI features and functionality and insights to really help out with data quality as well. And then on the communities platform, we're thinking about it, and obviously we have video discussions, and AI is great for summarizing long transcripts and really getting out those key nuggets. So we're focused on that, and along with open-ended text and NLP processing, summarizing topics, and some of the more qualitative modules. We're focused on that as well. And then on Insights Hub, again, this is our knowledge management data repository software. This is something that obviously there's a lot of application for AI to get multiple insights from different sources. So that's something that we are focused on as well. I'd like to dive a little bit deeper into QXBot and then some of those other features that I just mentioned. So what is QXBot? So QXBot is really our QuestionPro's innovative generative AI tool designed within our existing survey platform. So you'll see it as a survey builder. You'll also see it as kind of the nomenclature for some of the other work that we do and tying in the generative AI into it. So at its core, you can build quick surveys using a good prompt. So I'll dive a little bit more into that in a minute here, but some of the prominent features of QXBot, when we talk about it being a survey builder, is building the survey within seconds. That's something that you can easily do with good prompts. Even using it for getting insights, or maybe you're kind of stuck and you don't know the question that you want to ask, or you can't word it correctly, use it to get those. I think it's great. As researchers, we all get the equivalent of survey, of writer's block, and the same thing happens on surveys, right? Where you just need some of that inspiration. It's great for that. And then it's easy to use, intuitive system, and you can do it yourself, I think, which is really opening the door and helping to democratize research as well. So what does this look like practically? You'll see here on the right-hand side that the survey generator tool, you insert a prompt. So in this case, it's Soccer World Cup. In minutes or seconds, rather, it creates the survey for you. You can select the questions that you want to have included in the survey. You can also include demographic questions as well. But what's really nice about it is it's fast. It takes a lot of the legwork and the tasks to be done away. And the surveys here, once it's created, you can then have it go to the workspace. And then once it's in the workspace, you can add to it, put in logic, and all of those different things as well. So it's a very powerful tool in that regard. And you can insert, prompts like, prompt engineering is something that is obviously coming up with AI and generative AI becoming more prominent. So you can enter in like, very good prompts, very specific prompts, and it'll come up with those questions. So this is something that we've seen over the past few months of really to reduce the survey creation time and really allowing insights professionals to focus on more strategic business objectives, which arguably is something that they want to do. We also have it on an image generator. So if you need that perfect background image, but you just can't find it, use our image generator to come up with these. So you can see an example here. Again, you typed in the prompt of the type of image that you're looking for. The generative AI that creates the image that you can use in your survey. So these are things that you can utilize as well, and something that we're thinking about it from not only from a text standpoint or a language standpoint, but also image generation and speeding up that process as well. So simple point and click, yet effective. Smart dashboards. I think this is something that is key in the space in terms of a lot of times you don't need to do a lot of the legwork. Like let's have AI do this for you. So essentially taking a data set, being able to create a nice looking dashboard and develop those key insights. So it's as simple as, a few steps, create the dashboard by clicking on the survey within the tool. You get the snapshot of the underlying theme, and then a really intuitive graphical representation, I think, is what really helps set this apart. And also those nuggets of information that you can get directly from the data that you don't have to spend time, going through and really trying to figure those out. It'll have those key insights for you. So this is something that we are currently, working on now, but I do feel like this will become more and more prominent as we continue to move along. And then Discover, I know, Samir, you wanted to talk about Discover and then the next Pathos AI as well on the next slide. So I'll let you take it.
Right. So this is around the open-ends or the text analysis. And I know this is a very commonly used phenomenon now, but we said, okay, can we take a different kind of look at it and see how can we create something which can answer the so what, right? So at every step of development, we said, okay, so what? Why does it matter to our clients? Why would they care about this? And so what we created is something which is very, very focused. Even at times we have looked at, okay, what are the specific demands or needs of different industries, right? Because they want to look at different things. I mean, a restaurant owner or a fast food chain versus a retailer versus a manufacturer, they would want to look at different things, right? They would want to give priority to different things. So this way we have tried to create our AI models around text analysis, which look at those nuances, which look at those variations. We have trained a massive amount of data, which encompasses all those different facets, representation pieces as well. And the idea really here is can we give our clients insights, not only about, as a first step in Discover as sentiment, so, whether which topics, themes, aspects are driving positive and negative sentiments, but go a step further and kind of into our analytical capability in answering the so what. Yes, you're in sentiments. Yes, it's because of this topic, but so what, right? So how do I kind of take it to the next level of analysis? So we start to do, okay, can we bring it multilingual aspects into it? Can we do expect correlation? What happens when a customer talks about one topic but also cares about the other topic, right? Can we bring some kind of correlation analysis there? How is it trending, based on action orientation? So I think what we have done here is that we have gone a whole lot deeper in the analysis of open ends. So it's not just a very simple superficial analysis. It's actually a very deeper, in some cases, industry specific analysis as well.
Yeah, so something I really like about it, Samira, is that it does categorical analysis as well, which obviously takes a lot of time traditionally, right? Having to be done by someone. And it really does categorize the overall response as well and puts numbers to those along with sentiment. So I've seen that help to really speed up the research process as well. So I just wanted to add in that piece.
Absolutely. And so if I take the text analysis to the next level, or the NLP to the next level, is where really Pathos AI comes in, which is again from my Nielsen experience, going beyond the obvious, right? Going subconscious to a certain extent as well, because as customers, as humans, we there's a lot that we are expressing in different ways, that we are giving different cues, and the idea is to search and be able to quickly search for those cues, and use AI to basically associate what kind of behavior that would potentially result in, or what kind of decisions it could potentially result in going forward. The other thing that we have tried to do with Pathos is that so the core is that we understand emotions, which we believe drive decisions. But it's not just that; doesn't stop there. So the next question, so what question is, what does it matter, right? If we know the emotions, the next piece is that, okay, we understand emotions, and we want to understand why the emotions are the way they are. So we go to the next step. But then that's good enough. But then the next question is, well, how is that going to influence behavior? So then we go to the next step, and we try to understand those behavior cues and say, okay, this is what is likely going to result in terms of their future decisions. That's good to know. The next step is, which is what is missing in a lot of different neuroscience and behavioral aspects, is that what is the context? Because if you take out the context within which a customer is expressing their views or giving some cues about the experience, you're missing almost half, if not more, of the story. So then we kind of look and dig for the AI tool, dig for contextual information from within different ways in which customers have expressed themselves, and then produce an output saying, hey, you know what? This is where you need to focus. This is how you're driving your customers' emotions. This is how it's going to impact their decisions likely. And this is where you need to focus. And that's where the contextual information comes in, which is like what channel they were using, what journey touch point they were at, what product they were using. Just to give you an example, then we work with this baby milk manufacturing company that produces baby milk in the US. And using the AI tool, we created an insight which basically informed them that mothers with firstborn son versus daughters are looking for very different things from the product. Which was, they were like, oh, wow, that we did not see that coming. We did not know that. So in terms of then marketing, product design, communications, they then said, okay, we need to figure out how can we do this differently depending on who the, potentially the end user is. So that's the kind of unlocking deeper insights or new insights that we believe we want to be focusing on with Pathos and other AI tools that the QP is building.
Yeah, no, that's interesting. I wouldn't think there'd be a difference between what, firstborn, males versus females and what mothers were looking for. So really interesting insights and probably nuggets of information that they want to be able to find out elsewhere. So really interesting example there. And then, so moving on, obviously we're doing a lot on the survey creation side, the analysis side, but also on the data quality side as well. I mentioned that I think data quality was probably the most talked about happening in the research world, and how do we fix it? What can we do about it? And I think we can use AI and generative AI to really help out with the battle against data quality, really. And one of the ways that we've implemented this is with plagiarism detection, essentially where you have an open-ended response. We take that open-ended response, put it into ChatGPT, ask it 5 different ways, see what the response is, and then match that against the response that the respondent answered. And what we see is if it's close, then we flag it. And if it's exactly, we can terminate it, do whatever you want there. But the nice thing is it really helps capture those people that are trying to really game the system by giving an accurate response. And when we first released this, I had a client reach out and said, this is amazing. Actually, this is happening on our survey right now, where we can tell it's these, a very eloquent, like well thought out responses that we normally don't see on our surveys. And we know that someone is using, ChatGPT or some bot is tapping into it and using that. So it's already helped out. I know some clients that have been utilizing this, and really around, data quality. There's other avenues as well with, gibberish detection, checking context, like does the context of the open-ended response match that of the question? Obviously, this is, pretty big. I think as, survey fraud grows and detection of it gets better, the people on the other end get more advanced as well. So we can kind of mirror that with some of these responses and checking different contexts and does it answer the question. So we're definitely also using generative AI and AI in general to check with data quality and improving that. Some other things are mentioned video discussions and natural language processing, obviously getting the transcript, That's pretty much table stakes. But what we're also doing is taking the transcript and bubbling up those top insights. So even if you're a moderator and you've sat through all these studies, yeah, you probably know a lot of those key nuggets of information. But what I've heard from qualitative researchers recently is that, hey, even though I've been sitting through my study and multiple rounds of focus groups or IDIs, what has been interesting to me is when I plug that transcript back into a a model like ChatGPT or some of the other platforms out there, I've been able to uncover additional insights or nuggets of information that I really didn't know. So it just helps to add to the depth of the analysis as well, and is like a really good research assistant. So we've seen that, and this is something that we're going to continue to be working on as well to help improve the quality of the insights that have been generated from this. In addition, summarizing topics, this has been a key area for us. And now in the community platform, we have a topics module where moderators, they can post questions and community members can answer them. Likewise, community members can post questions and other community members can answer them. But really it's been difficult to kind of summarize those responses, get the key nuggets of information. Well, now obviously with generative AI, that becomes a whole lot easier, and it's something that we're tapping into really to get like those key themes, so researchers don't have to spend time sifting through all those answers, and they can spend more time on actionable insights and really taking these things to help drive business decisions. So the summarization of topics is something that we're working on, and I think it's obviously something that will improve that that chart that Samir showed earlier, where what are those different areas that things are improving and speeding up. This is obviously one of them. So we want to take these things, continue to double down on them. Another one is Insights Hub and stories creation, we call it. So you have some data and you want to be able to create text out of it, and really those stories around the data, or at least get a good start. Certainly those probably won't replace like the best researcher, but it'll help give that head start and really those quick insights while you're looking at other data and formulating your report and what you need to do there. It's something that we have where it automatically creates the story, and then you can go in and add to it, add images. You can also obviously edit the text and so forth, but specifically built for insights teams and research analysis to help out with the cross narrative and project findings. So you could even take two different studies, have it come up with a story around it, and really help to get those insights at a faster rate. So I know we're doing a lot with the QuestionPro difference. Samir, one thing that when you joined, you're like, responsible AI is something that we really need to focus on. So I know you wanted to talk for a minute on that. So I'd like to give the floor to you now.
Great. And if I could just, Dan, a little bit talk about the Insights Hub a little bit, a couple of things that we are working on that, in addition to what this amazing bit of stories creation is. If I were to get a sense for every time during my research days, Nielsen days, that clients ask me about some of their previous research or access one of their previous reports, I would probably be a millionaire, right? It's such a huge, trust me, right? We all have faced that. So I think that there's been such a huge challenge for agencies, but also for end users and clients to actually be able to quickly access all the work that they've done in the past. And so with Insights Hub, I think one thing that we're also doing is that we are enabling faster access, like within seconds access to the repository, right? So you can actually type the subject and you get all the list of studies that you've done in which that particular topic may have been covered. The second thing that we are also looking at is, okay, fine, you get the research, but what about what's in it, right? Can we get quicker access to our clients to kind of do that data insight, right? So we are also working on functionalities where, and I'm kind of giving away maybe the secret res, probably right now, but but we are working on enabling ways in which our agencies or their clients or our clients are able to actually access the insights from contained within those massive reports, and basically again use AI interface to ask a question and get a response with information, with insights that they have done, that they've already spent money on, and to improve the ROI. So instead of doing new research, you can actually very quickly get access to the work that you've already done.
Yeah, no, that's a good point. I'm glad you added that, because those are some key points and things that we're working on the Insights Hub. And people spend a lot, trying to find information and collate data and get those insights. And if we can help out, using our generative AI tools and just AI in general, I think it definitely makes a difference. So how do we, I know you want to talk about responsible AI and so forth. So how does that play with what you've been talking about?
Oh, absolutely. This is the foundation, right? So if I were to kind of build a house of AI, if there was a house of AI, are in our dreams, the foundation would be based on a deep, solid foundation will be based on responsible AI. I mean, it's got to be.
Yep.
Otherwise, we won't be doing justice to our own values at QuestionPro. So we are kind of, not only that we obviously see what is happening right now. The good thing is that we are kind of ahead of the curve, and I'm always reminded of a saying from there was a very famous American writer, and Roberta May, I think, who wrote a coming of age novel back in the 40s and 60s, I think, and she said, "Life of reaction is a life of slavery." Intellectually and spiritually, right? So we need to be staying ahead of the curve. So we're not only looking at things that are must-dos, and in terms of transparency, in terms of explainability, that we don't create black boxes. We're also looking at where we need to be, where this industry needs to be, and in terms of creating those value systems or value exchanges where it's ethical to use AI in the future. So that's really where it's the cornerstone of our thinking process, and we take labors and and pains and cost as well on our side, just to make sure we kind of do it right.
Yeah, no, I think that's a good point. And there's going to be a lot more that comes out as this becomes more commonplace as well. So I'm glad that we're early adopters of it. I think some other things that we do differently is we're really trying to bake these things right into the tool. We'll be upfront about it and say, hey, this is where we're using AI and so forth. But I think that more and more platforms will, obviously, if they haven't already, will really start to leverage AI. And I think it'll become table stakes. If it's not already, it will become even more so. And we're doing that already, where we have a roadmap of getting both qualitative and quantitative AI tools into the platform, not only for analysis but also creation as well, as we've showed you. And also, easy to use and intuitive tools. Those are things that we are really focused on, and really to reduce that speed. I mean, if you can reduce it even by days, and I think Samir's made a good case that we can reduce it by weeks, and that's pretty amazing, just in terms of both the timeline, how much more efficient it is, how much time it frees up for researchers, and really like how much more research can be done and insights can be gained by not only that freeing up of time, but also being able to better access and analyze previous studies. So those are a lot of things that we're doing at QuestionPro, and things we'll continue to do over the course of the next several years. So I think with that, what we wanted to do was let you all know that we're putting all this together in an insightful free ebook that we'll send out next week to everyone that registers. If you didn't register for the webinar, go ahead and reach out to us, and we'll be more than happy to make sure that you get a copy of it. All of our information is here, so you can reach out to me on LinkedIn, reach out to Samir as well on LinkedIn, and more than happy to connect, answer any questions. And if you do want that free ebook, definitely let us know. I'm sure we'll obviously be posting it as well in our LinkedIn profiles and elsewhere. So if you want it, it'll be packed with all this great information that we covered today. So with that, I know we had a lot of questions come up, Samir. So I think first,
that's good.
That was great. I think there's a lot of interest and a lot of questions that people have around it, as maybe their managers are saying, hey, you need to be more in this AI conversation, or they're really starting to dive into it. It's interesting that it's only largely been adopted over the past few months, right? With January kind of really things came to a head. So it's still in its infancy stages. We talked about last week on another show, and I think that a lot of people are still getting in. I think typically researchers have tended to be laggards in adopting new technology, but I would say the rate at which people have been adopting generative AI in the research industry has been like any other technology I've seen recently. So with that comes a lot of questions. So that's a long way of me saying that we got a lot of questions on this. So I think the first one is interesting. If you can see here, Rich, he said, they have an existing annual survey of their audience that is highly customized for various editorial needs. They make a few edits to the survey each year. How does generative AI help us with this survey model? So any thoughts come to mind here, Samir?
So this is basically around the QXBot, right?
I believe so. Yep.
So I think the way it's hard, because if you have a tracker study, obviously you want to maintain a certain level of of consistency with the work that you're doing. But in terms of anything that is new that you want to add, right, to the survey, because obviously new things come up, new topics come up. So instead of then again, kind of trying to come up with those questions in a smarter way, you can use the QXBot and specifically target that particular topic or the emerging topic and say, hey, if you want to add, something along those topics, and you can then obviously, it will throw up a certain number of questions, and you can then select if you want to ask one or two. I think what we potentially also do and can help with our clients is that, in terms of the volume or the size, right? Right now, there is obviously, it might throw up, let's say if you go, hey, what's new in beverages? It might throw up like 100 questions, I don't know, 50 questions, because it's such a massive topic. So one thing I think Dan, what you and I need to also do is that, and I think that's something that we, with the advent of OpenAI, I think that's also coming up, is how to ask that question, right? How do we ask the right questions to these bots and to these tools, so that we get the right answers? And I think maybe Dan, you and I need to do a session on that as well. To talk about how to ask QXBot, that you can get the maximum out of it.
No, I agree with you, and I think prompt engineering is definitely it's definitely a new thing that people are talking more and more about, because I think your output is, especially in generative AI or ChatGPT, your output is only as good as your prompt. So I think that definitely plays a factor. I would say here a number of ways I think you can use generative AI to help out. Obviously, with the insights that you're getting from these surveys, maybe there's nuggets of information or new themes that you're seeing that maybe you previously didn't get. And then you can use that to help come up with new questions. You mentioned here, highly customized various editorial needs. And to your point, Samir, with the different prompts that we have, you can get very specific. And I think highly customized probably means very specific. So you can get that, and it'll come out with different examples of things you should ask. So those would be some very practical ways, Rich, that I think we believe that generative AI can help you here. We had some other questions, Samir, and I'll just, these were submitted beforehand, so I don't have them on screen, but what I wanted to do is just kind of do a rapid fire here. So this is kind of along the lines of new themes and things coming up. Is someone asked, how can we begin preparing to incorporate AI into brainstorming and strategy for 2024 planning? So kind of more along the lines of starting maybe to think about AI is what I'm hearing from the question, and how do they start to incorporate that into their strategy and planning for 2024?
Yeah, that's an interesting, very broad set of question, and I think again, I would say if you're talking about a specific industry or a specific client, what you need to start doing first and foremost is you need to start listening, and if you already are, if you're not, then you need to start listening to the customers. And which, when I say listening, and I would actually add listening and observing. So first and foremost, you need to understand, what is it that is happening in that world, right? If you expand and broaden the listening and observation posts, you get a lot of new data. Then you can use AI to basically understand and analyze this information and say, okay, where are the areas where we have potentially challenges, right? That we need to look into. So we're looking at different tools that can help you sort of prioritize. We can look at Discover, we can look at from a QP perspective, we can look at Pathos, where, which kind of allows that kind of, or different other summarization tools that help you understand the prioritization kind of metrics for those topics, right? That your customers are facing. And they could be very macro, they could be very micro as well. So they could be as macro as, product color is something which is not working out, right? The packaging color is not how, it's kind of going through. Or it could be as micro as, packaging for that 10 ml in that particular, town or whatever jurisdiction that you however far, go down, that granular that you go down to is not working, right? So so it really depends on, how much you want to listen, how much you want to get into. So once you have mapped all those things out, that would allow then you to kind of set the priority metrics and design, allocate resources and investments behind the big ticket items.
Yeah, no, I would agree with you. And I would just echo, largely depends on your familiarity with AI and your comfort level. If you're just stepping in, try it out. There's a lot of these, we have tools. There's a lot of tools out there that you can try. I would recommend, getting a free license at QuestionPro, and some of these things are available, or we can walk you through it as well and just say, hey, this is, these are some of the things that can reduce the time. And that obviously affects your strategy. Maybe it leaves more time for business intelligence, or it leaves more time for other things that you need to focus on outside of doing things like survey creation or results, or reporting on results, because we can help you speed that up. So try it out. And then I think that'll really help inform your strategy for 2024. If you haven't thought about it at all, I would say, dive into it, give it a try, attend some courses, and really start to dive into it. I think if you haven't done anything, that might be part of your strategy, is just, what can I do to get better educated? Because it's not going anywhere. It's only going to continue to evolve and improve. So moving on to, how can AI be used to create visual dashboards based on predetermined indicators? So along the lines of, I think, some of the things we're doing with maybe Discover, maybe some of the things we're doing with, the QXBot insights and so forth. So any thoughts on that? I mean, it's another broad question, but let's try to focus it a little bit if we can, I think.
Yeah, I think, so I always, so for me, I can talk about the concept in general, but I always, for me, it's always about, okay, what's the problem that we want to solve? And what are the best ways to kind of address the challenge, right? Because not everything requires very complex solutions sometimes. Sometimes, things can be done very simply, and tools may already exist out there, right? So you don't really need to always to look at, I know there is a lot of, right now, there's whole buzz around, hey, we got to use AI, right? And something to do with AI. But, so there was a book that from, Collingwood, The Good to Great, and in which he talks about how big companies kind of look at technological changes, right, that are happening around them. So first and foremost is that they don't get carried away with it. They take their time and then analyze what are the biggest problems to solve and what are the simplest ways to solve those problems. And then, that's their starting point. So again, Dan, you are an expert in that, the dashboard side of, how do we create those kind of and enable those kind of tools. But that would be my view, that, don't make things that do not need to be complicated too complicated, and see what are the solutions that may already exist that can handle those things simply.
Yeah, that's true. I would agree with that. And I think, there's a lot of good solutions that can probably already handle like predetermined indicators or predetermined things that you need. I don't know that you necessarily need AI for that, but tools like Discover can really help you out with just the time where you don't have to predetermine those indicators, that it can do that for you in the output. So you don't have to spend time, sort of doing those things. Kind of moving on, a little bit similar, I would say, is that, someone said, if I have, 1,000 comments to sift through and identify key themes of the entire base, could generative AI do this for me in a matter of seconds with a similar, same level of accuracy? So I think it's interesting that the accuracy component is something we should probably, maybe hone in on a little. But I mean, this is screaming Discover to me, Samir. But let me know what your thoughts are.
No, absolutely. But the beauty of it is, from a generative AI perspective, is that how adaptive this any tool that anybody, that people try, decide to use in terms of new information. Because what happens a lot of time is that, a model is created, it's pretty static. It has been trained on certain past data, and then it stops to learn, right? It stops to look at new trends, new data. And I think so what we have, at least in Discover, certainly for sure, that we have tried to do is to kind of, enable in some shape and form, ingesting of emerging and new data, right? Which makes the accuracy better, because then you're looking at making sure that, new information, new data, new trends are captured in that topic categorization and thematic analysis as well.
Got it. Yep. No, I agree 100%. So it definitely can save you time in a matter of seconds. Is not an exaggeration. It can be done in a matter of seconds. 1,000 comments is not a ton of data actually for these models that we'll put through, and so it's definitely something that we can do to identify those key themes. So
yeah, for Pathos AI, we actually ran. I ran, the largest one that I've ran so far, and I think for Discover we ran 45,000 rows of data, and I think for Pathos I ran about 150,000 for one project.
Just a little bit. I mean, just a little bit of data running through there. All right. So this is a little bit of around, AI in the workforce. So do you believe in a future where AI will fully take over the workforce across the globe? If yes, no, why do you think so?
So
I guess I'll summarize it. Are the robots coming for us, Samir, or what?
So okay, if you have to ask my mantra, I feel that AI won't work unless there is a human involved.
Yep, I agree.
So that's how I would say that do we need to change our skill sets going forward? Yes. Are what we're doing today, is it something that's going to stay exactly the same tomorrow? Probably not. For sure. But if the keys in my hand, of the future of AI and robotics and all of that, I would say that there's always need to be a human involved.
Yeah, I would agree with you. I don't think it'll take jobs for researchers, but I do think it'll take jobs of researchers that don't embrace AI or generative AI. And to your point, like, definitely need to continue to get skill sets trained and making sure that you're well versed in these things, because you just can be way more efficient. And I think that's really indicative of where a lot of these things are going. So, I don't think it'll fully take over. I don't see that happening, because you do need that human component, as you mentioned. So, I guess a little bit lighter note maybe is, how do I transform qualitative data from manual handling to AI based? So I think, kind of how do you make that step? I would say just maybe try it out and see what happens, right? Yeah.
Oh yeah, for sure. I mean, again, QP has tools. QuestionPro has obviously that Dan that you talked about, and I know you're very excited about it because, and I know how much. Again, I keep saying that, but it's just that because I've seen it around me, right? I've talked to my team members who do this kind of work, who are doing, summarizing qual responses and running qual studies, and there are two aspects to it. The frustration that I saw and the challenges that I saw were twofold, right? One was obviously the time and the effort and the pain around it. And the second bit was the fear that they always used to have was that, are we missing something? Did we miss anything, right? Were we not really able to capture potentially some insight that were really important? So I think those are the two considerations that always, horrified qual researchers, in my experience. And I think some of the tools that you talked about then will hopefully help them, in those two regards.
Yeah, no, I agree. And I would say, try it out. Take the data set, do it manually yourself, run it through with these different models and see what happens. And if it's close, then you have something there. And what's interesting to me, and this is a little bit kind of to this point, is even if you have like two humans that are coding a data set, kind of going through, marking the different, whether it's a category or sentiment, you could get two very different outcomes in the end, right? And I think the same could be true even for generative AI. Just because you model it out differently doesn't mean that it's going to be identical to what you have, but maybe it's close enough, or maybe it's even more accurate. So I would say try it out, keep an open mind, and definitely do, some A/B tests, which I know as researchers we love to do. So those are some things that I would recommend that you try out there. Another one is more around, I think, just overall curiosity in terms of uptake or how fast has like the survey builder QXBot that we've come up with. Has that kind of got a foothold? Are people using it, and how are they utilizing it? So I'll start out just because I know when I see some of this data, it's definitely being widely used. And I think just like ChatGPT when it first came out, just like when we first released it, it was like, hey, what can this thing do? So you're kind of, playing around with it. But I've seen much more practical application of it recently in the past few months in terms of really utilizing it for survey creation, for filling in those questions that you don't really know maybe how to word the question, or to Rich's point earlier, maybe he needs to change a few things and it's highly customized. The prompt, you enter in the prompt, you can get very, very specific, and it's something that it will only get better as you continue to utilize it, and you get better at the prompt engineering. So it's definitely catching a hold, I would say. And Samir, I don't know if you have anything to add to that, but I'd love to get your thoughts as well.
No, I think you covered it pretty well, Dan. All I would say is that we as researchers are, naturally curious people, right? And we ought to be. Yeah. And the beauty of the AI tools, the way at least we are trying to package it, and others are trying to do it the same way, is that we are kind of enabling it in a way is that you don't need to be a technology guru, or you don't need to be somebody who's well versed with any of those coding or aspects that not all of us are actually. Yeah. So when you make it from a end user perspective, an end user who's naturally curious, I think we have a good recipe for success. And I do believe that there'll be a lot of researchers out there who are, I think, waiting for the right solution that they want to get their teeth into.
Yeah, no, I 100% agree. 100% agree. Well, I think that's about all the questions, although we do have one here. So Brian teed this up pretty nice for us. So we do have a conference coming up later this year in October on the 26th, where we'll be talking about AI capabilities and how we're integrating it, how to leverage it, and some different things that we see happening in the market. So definitely, come to that. It's on October 26th. It's here in Austin. It's a one-day conference. If you message us, we have promo codes and so forth that we can give you to help make it a little bit more affordable or budget friendly. But definitely come. AI is going to be a key component. I know Samir and I will be talking about that as well. Similar topics, and probably even some more advancements that will happen over the next 3 months, because that is how fast things are changing here with some of this with this generative AI. So yeah, thanks for teeing that up, Brian. But definitely come to X Day on the 26th of October. I think with that, Samir, we can probably wrap it up unless you have any final thoughts or things that you wanted to mention.
No, nothing. It's just that one quote that, as we were talking about all of this, there was one Henry Ford's quote that I always liked, is that, if you don't think of the future, you won't have one. So I think we need to just think from that perspective and make sure that we are doing the right things going forward.
I love it. Love it. That's a great way to end it. And I'll just put this up here again. We want to say thank you. If you have any questions after this, reach out to Samir and I. We're both on LinkedIn actively, and would love to hear from you, answer those questions. And again, if you want that ebook that we'll be releasing next week and you weren't registered, feel free to drop us a note. More than happy to get you on the list. All right, with that, thank you everyone for attending, and have a good rest of your day.
Thank you.